Hey guys, Millennia here, and I wanted to showcase this cool new technique found in Unreal 4.13, which is basically mesh-based normal map decals. So you can see I've got a few details here around this test mesh, and the underlying materials are just simple tiling ones. So if I flip to a picture without the mesh normal map decals on it, you can see that it's a fair bit less detailed. Basically what these do is they let the normal and roughness map through and respect the underlying material. So very, very powerful for doing this kind of stuff. Very good for environments, vehicles and that kind of things. So I imagine this will be quite popular, especially in hard surface stuff like this, once 4.13 is fully released. I personally plan on using it in my work for fractured space with the spaceships. So I've made this really quick test object with simple tiling materials on it, just so we have a little canvas to test this technique on. And I do apologize in advance, it's not going to be very tutorial-y, it's more just kind of showcasing my process throughout, but hopefully you'll find it interesting and informative anyway. So I'm just going to hop into Photoshop and make some quick normal maps with Quixel and DO2. Very powerful for this kind of stuff. Now you can make these normal maps in anything you'd like, but I personally prefer to use Quixel. Very, very good for this. Makes it fairly easy. So I'm just going to start off with creating a panel line. Fairly simple one. Doesn't need to be a big strip of it, because we can just stretch the UVs. And I'll just fiddle with the settings a little bit to get a nicer texture out of it. Maybe that, yeah, that should do. And I'm just going to put this in a group and create a layer mask. And I'll just invert that. Maybe move that a little bit. Just an even smaller strip of that. And I'll just get the selection of that, create a new layer. Fill that with white. And I'm just going to copy the settings from this one, paste them into the new one, turn that upwards, and just move it down a little bit. And now we have basically a raised line with the same settings as that. So quite nice. I'll just leave a little bit of space for some nice feathering. And let's see, I'll just create a slightly bigger and subtler one. Maybe like that thick. And I'll just do the same with this. There we go. And I'll just create a few other quick details. just outside of that group. Actually, I'll make one even bigger than that. I want to get like a really crisp bolt out of this. And just a slightly smaller one. Just so we have kind of variety in the bevel sizes. What else do I need? I'll just make a row of slightly blurred ones at the bottom here. So I'm just gonna erase the bottom of that to get a kind of like gradually deepening inset going on. See how that works. Yeah, does the trick quite well. Don't have to rounded shape is great for these. I'll just keep it like that. And I'll just create a couple of quick, slightly more complex details. Just going to mask that out as well, so I can put some things on top of that. Maybe just gonna get a little bit off the ends there. Just gonna copy the settings again. Okay, let's see what we can get done with these. So we'll want to create an alpha mask from this. So with Quixel it's really easy. So you just go down and disable the bottom fill layer, and you can hit Shift Control Alt E to flatten all visible layers. So I'm just gonna Control click on that layer shape there to get the selection mask. Create a new layer, fill it with white. Create a new layer there and fill that whole thing with black. And just copy that into the clipboard, delete these, put that back on, and now that's restored and we have a new alpha map to go with that. So I'm just gonna save that. And we'll probably want to plug this into Max first so we can kind of preview the effect. But due to how the rendering in 3ds Max works, there's no way for us to perfectly replicate the result. So we'll just have to do something that kind of does it, but it'll only truly come alive inside Unreal itself. So I'm just gonna put those maps on real quick. I'm using 3ds Max here, but you can use any 3D program you'd like. Oop, bit of slow down there. Really need to reinstall Windows. This thing's so slow. Just gonna tick flip green because Max expects Y-, whereas Quixel does Y+ by default. And now I could flip that in Quixel, but I kind of prefer working with Y+ anyway. Feels more natural to me. And I'll just put the alpha in there as well. And that should be it. I'll just copy the alpha into the specular as well, because it looks like I've got some specular on the material there, and I will want to mask that out. There we go. Looks like expected. So I'm just going to start applying this material onto the mesh. So I'm going to start by creating a plane from the top. Actually, let me put that on view and just make a square plane. And I'm just going to apply the multi-sub material onto it, switch it over to our decal material, and I'll have to click on realistic materials with maps to make it show up properly. And there we go. I'm just gonna create a few copies of this and just kind of pick out details from this map onto separate objects. That'll work better. There we go. I'll just tidy this up a little bit by taking preserve UVs and moving these edges in just really quickly so we can kind of place them cleaner on the mesh. Reduce overdraw as well. You do want to leave a little bit of space so that they can feather out nicely, especially when mip maps come into play. Otherwise you're going to get some hard edges or bleeding, which is never nice. Yeah, that'll probably do. Just move these in. Forgot that I had to preserve UV sun. Just wondering why they looked a bit weird. Cool, that looks pretty much it. I'm just gonna untick that, move these back together. And I'm just gonna put these on their own layer. Call that decals original. Cool, and I'll just make a copy of this and put that into the main layer. Just hide the original so I've got a copy of them in case I screw something up with these. or mess around with them too much. So I'm just going to detach these into separate objects. And I'm just gonna, forgot to detach these. And I'll just actually, aside from resetting the pivots, I'm also gonna move them slightly off the face so that they'll float on top of the surface when placed on it, because you don't want that Z fighting. And I'll just use the select and place tool here to wax some of these onto place. Kind of instantly you can see just how powerful this technique can be. You can just literally slap these things anywhere, which is pretty friggin' amazing, to say the least. I've been waiting to use this technique in Unreal for ages, so it's pretty awesome to see it finally be functional. Also, I've got no idea what this is supposed to be. I just whacked together something really quickly. Actually, there's a better way to extend these. I'll just collapse that so it's not instanced anymore. And I'm just going to stretch that out. And let's try one of these panel lines on. So I'm probably gonna put the subtle one on top. Just gonna stretch that out. Put a couple of these small holes on top. Maybe I'll just do this manually. Don't care too much for accuracy right now. Whoops. Accidentally duplicated all of this on top of each other. Messed around with the clone modifiers too much. There we go. What's really cool is that you can kind of manipulate this a fair bit in Max as well to get a pretty good mileage out of fairly simple normal map details. I'm actually not sure whether this is the inward or outward one. That looks like an outward one to me. Yeah. There we go. It's not quite centered. I'm just gonna have to eyeball it. Cool. I'm just gonna add a few more panel lines really quickly. Just gonna apply the correct material to that. Just trying to stack these as well as possible. I could use snaps for that, but it's not really necessary. Yeah, that works well. And to kind of create a nice transition at 90-degree corners like this, I'm just gonna create like a triangular end for it. Just put that on top. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna just detach that so I can symmetry it. Right. I think that's pretty much ready for a quick test. Should look fairly interesting anyway. So I'm just gonna hide all this excess crap here. And just export all this back into Unreal. Okay. Re-import that. Okay, as you can see, I haven't created the material for this decal material yet, so I'm just gonna create a new material and call that decal mat or whatever. I'm sure you can come up with a better name than that. And I'm just gonna turn this, if I remember correctly, it should be deferred decal, masked, and debuffer normal. We'll probably put a roughness map in there as well, but we'll just do this normal for now. And we'll also want to import our materials. And just going to drop these as texture samples. And I could make a nice clean material and parameterize everything here, but just for like showcase purposes, this should be more than enough. And, let's see, what do I need to do? Rendering project settings enabled. I might have to do that. Debuffer decals. Okay. I think it's in the editor preferences. I swear it's here somewhere. Let me just make a quick cut here and sort that out. Okay, so I figured it out. So it's project settings, rendering, and debuffer decals. We'll see if I'll have to restart Unreal to get that to actually work. Possibly. Maybe just close and reopen that. No. Yeah, it looks like a quick restart is in place. So I'm just going to save those. Put that back up. I should really make cuts here, but I'm kind of lazy about my production values. Well, while it loads, I'm just going to fiddle with this a little bit more. So what else we got? Guess I'll just put options here. All right. Ah, lovely. It's recompiling all my shaders. Guess enabling that option causes that to happen. Maybe that needs to be translucent then. Yeah, I think that's the case. I'm just going to go back into Max to fiddle with that while it compiles my shaders. See. Okay. That should be all done. Let's drop that in. Oh yeah. I'll have to flip the green channel in the normal map. Thankfully Unreal has a nifty tech box for this. There we go. Sorry for the frame rate. The recording's really ruining my frame rate for some reason. Like I'm running this on a Titan X Pascal and it's still like not very smooth, like 20 frames per second. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now we can improve it by creating a quick roughness map for it. And now you could go about a few ways. There are a few ways you could go about creating a roughness map for this, but I'm just gonna stick with Quixel and create a quick ambient occlusion and cavity map from it. And I might do a hard surface height map as well. Why not? We might use it. Cool. So I'm just going to save these. Already saved. Nifty. And I'll just tweak this a little bit. And actually, I'm going to create a flattened copy of the normal map and take a copy of the blue channel. And I'll just tweak the properties a little bit here in Quixel. Oh, well, Photoshop more like, but Quixel created. Just kind of tweak the depth of the effect a little bit. And I'll paste that blue channel of the normal map on top as well with multiply. And I'll just mix a copy of that with the cavity map. And I'll just mess with that a little bit more. Cool. And I'll just save that as roughness. Drag and drop that into Unreal. Oh, didn't come through. Let me just import that then. And I'll just plug this into the shader. So I'll just drop that in. And put that in the... Well, first of all, I'll have to go to the material itself and change it from debuffer translucent normal to normal and roughness. You can pass color through as well, but because I want to do a mixture of different material types with this, like metallic things, I can't really use it that well with base color, so I just wanted to respect the color of the underlying material. So it'll only pass roughness and normal through. And see how that looks. It's a bit weird. I think I might have to mess with it a little bit. See how that works. Could use a little bit more something. Maybe contrasting it will work. I'm just going to do this in the texture properties. Mess around with curves a little bit. Kind of interesting. Gives a fairly pleasing, subtle result. And as you can see, it blends between materials really nicely. You can create some really high resolution results with this technique without actually using super high resolution maps. And that's really the beauty of it. Well, that's pretty much it. I think I'm just gonna post a separate Polygon thread for it. So I'll link that in the description. So if you've got any questions about this technique, like feel free to ask. Like, I haven't had time to experiment with it extensively yet, but it does seem very powerful and very useful. So hopefully you find it useful too. Anyway, cheers for watching.